Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Fantasy Football Fix Game Week 33 live stream. Hang on a second, my microphone is not on. Hang on. I'm back, guys. Apologies for that. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fix Game Week 33 live stream. My name is FPL Nacho, and I am delighted to be bringing this live stream to you guys today. Of course, if you are in the UK, this is a bank holiday Friday, so I hope you are having a wonderful bank holiday Friday, and wherever you are in the world, hope you're having a great day in general. No rest for the wicked, guys. We have Game Week 33 coming up. Of course, that is a tomorrow deadline, so it's quite nice. We don't have to have the panic of a Friday deadline. We can chill, process some of the press conferences, some of the fixture announcements, get an idea of what we want to do with our transfers going forward. So, of course, guys, as always, if you are new around here, please do drop a like on the video and hit that subscribe button. I know we only have about a month left of FPL, but we're still delivering regular content, and you guys do not want to be missing out at all. And also, guys, if you are involved in the video, please drop your name, questions in the comments so I can pick them up and answer them throughout the live stream. More than happy to do that. But as always, there's going to be a bit of a format in this live stream. So what will we be covering off today? Let me just get our schedule in front of me. Looking at the fixtures, of course, potential double game week been announced for 34 or 35. Going to quickly, very briefly cover that one. Then we're looking at Newcastle defenders, which one to target. Going to be looking at Maddison versus Dewsbury Hall. Can Dewsbury Hall offer a cheaper alternative to Maddison? And the reason why you guys are here, free hit drafts. Going to be covering plenty of free hit drafts. One which is going to be full of doublers, only doublers, because I know a lot of people have strong opinions on single players not being anywhere near involved in free hits. And another free hit team which is going to be a mix of single game weekers and double game weekers. So you can get an idea on both free hits and my thoughts around that. Then we're looking at the algorithm squad, the algorithm points, the usual sort of bits. So great to see a few in there. Rio, hope you're doing well. Vincata, hope you're doing well as well. Rio, is it worth a -4 to replace Lacazette by Adams/Wood? Between Adams and Wood, which one is better? So it's a really good question, Rio. Obviously, right now, the injury status of Lacazette is really, really unclear. Didn't train throughout the week in terms of team training. So there's a chance that he might get involved in some late training today. However, Arteta has said in a press conference that he is in the run-in to being fit. Does that mean he will definitely start both games? We don't know on that one, unfortunately. So if you're in a position right now where you really need to field players and you're worried about Lacazette, I really do think that Wood and Adams are definitely two players that you can look at as alternatives. Which one I'll go to from a personal perspective, I really do like Newcastle's double game week, both at home against Leicester, who are coming off the back of a away performance in the Europa League, which was clearly quite a draining sort of game for them. And also Crystal Palace, who are going to be off the back of a FA Cup semi-final. So playing against two teams that are going to be, not the fittest in comparison to other opposition. So I like Chris Wood. I know our algorithm likes Che Adams, so I'm going to be covering that in a little bit later in this video. Vincato definitely going to be showing a few free hit teams. I hope that helps out. And Kamara saying I'm playing both Luke Thomas and Daniel Amati. So this is the big problem right now with Leicester in general. Because of their performance in the Europa League and then progressing in the Europa League, we really don't know whether they're actually going to be making mass rotation or they're going to honour the players that featured in the Europa League. I have to remember it is a double game week for Leicester. So there's a good chance both of those could play one game and not the other. So I really do hope that pays off for you. And Jack saying, what's up with Lacazette? It says personal reasons on the app, 75%. Not too sure on the actual reasoning behind Lacazette, but what we do know is he is a doubt for the game. But Arteta says there is a chance of him playing. So read into that what you will. Definitely hasn't been confirmed available, but equally hasn't been ruled out. Really, really tricky sort of landscape right now for Lacazette owners. So I do think if you're in a bit of a panic mode right now, then maybe moving sideways to another player who's definitely going to feature might just cover yourself, and you might not be sweating that Arsenal might prioritise the Chelsea game in that double rather than the first fixture. So it's worth noting that for sure. So as I mentioned, guys, I want to quickly touch on the fixture landscape very, very briefly because I know we need to be looking at free hits and all that in this live stream. So I have the full fixture schedule in front of me here that you guys can see on screen. And you can see there clearly that Leicester are top of the charts for their fixtures because they're double in 33, 36 and 37. Now, if you didn't know already, and it's worth obviously digesting this right now because there is a slight potential change in the fixtures coming up. If Chelsea win, and that's win the FA Cup semi-final against Crystal Palace, then Chelsea will have a double game week 34. So you can see there right now, they have a home game against West Ham. If they beat Crystal Palace, that game week 37 fixture against Man United will get moved to game week 34, which means that they will have a double in 34 and a single in game week 37. Now, of course, that means that Man United will also have a double in game week 34. And you can see them on the screen down here. They currently are featuring against Arsenal away, but they will also then play Chelsea in that double. So they will have a double game week 34 against Arsenal and Chelsea. That means that Man United will then have a blank in game week 37 because that fixture will move from 37 to game week 34. So remember, this is only if Chelsea beat Crystal Palace in the FA Cup semi-final, which on the bookies odds and obviously general assumptions is the likely outcome in that semi-final. Now, the other alternative is if Crystal Palace beat Chelsea in the FA Cup semi-final. Now, you can see Crystal Palace's fixtures there. Newcastle away, Leeds at home, Southampton away, then Watford, followed by a double in 37. If they were to beat Chelsea, then Palace would have a double game week 35. So right now, they play Southampton away. They would then play Aston Villa as their second part of the double in 35, which means they would have a double game week 35 and a single game week 37. And that applies to the same for Aston Villa. Aston Villa would have a double game week 35, which means they would have Norwich at home and Crystal Palace at home, meaning their game week 37 fixtures would only be Burnley at home. So I hope that makes sense. Again, as I said, if Chelsea win, then they have a double in 34 against West Ham and United United will have a double against Arsenal and Chelsea. If Palace win, Palace will have a double in 35 against Aston Villa and Southampton, and Villa will have a double in 35 against Norwich and Crystal Palace. That in particular looks like a really, really attractive fixture for Aston Villa assets if anybody owns them already. And that's particularly going to be great for those managers that are potentially wildcarding around that period. Could be a great chance to dive in on some of those assets for a 1 week punt or onwards. So I'm going to leave the fixture landscape here for you guys just a minute. But what I'm going to do firstly is just filter it by game week 33 in isolation. You can see that on the left-hand side. You can see Newcastle at top of the charts for their 2 home fixtures, followed by Burnley, then Man United, and then Leicester. So naturally, the double game weekers are being favoured on our fixture analyzer because of the potential that they have over 2 games as opposed to 1 fixture. And obviously, Man City have a great fixture at home to Brighton, but that isn't going to be better than a double game week for other teams. So that's a quick kind of landscape, guys, on the fixtures coming forward. Just remember that FA Cup semi-final, which is going to happen after the game week 33 deadline, will change the landscape of the fixtures. So just be flexible in your decision making going forward. Sujet's saying, I have Laka and De Bruyne, who to replace him with? Well, it sounds like De Bruyne is going to be really touch and go for this game week. So it's all about what direction you want to take your team. I think Che Adams or Chris Wood are really nice sideways moves for someone like Lacazette. And with Kevin De Bruyne, I think the natural sideways move to do would be to go from De Bruyne to Bruno Fernandes. I've mentioned about the fixture implications. If Chelsea win on the weekend against Crystal Palace, you're going to be in a position where you're going to have Bruno Fernandes in a double this week and a double in 34. That is a brilliant opportunity to be in. So I think that sideways move is a very good move for you. Denver, Justin / Shah or Telles for my bench boost 33. Help me pick one. Well, I'd be worried about Justin, so it's worth mentioning that Justin is somebody that could easily play, but could easily get benched. That's the situation right now with Leicester defenders. So I really like Fabian Schär as an option, or Telles. That's a really tight one. I probably would just go for Fabian Schär. I do think Telles could have a really good performance against Norwich, but I'm not expecting too much against Liverpool. Again, we'll touch on the algorithm points in a bit, just to kind of back the argument really of which one you should be going for. And Vincata saying, Lacazette missed 2 training sessions, doubts he'll play both games. I think that is probably the scenario. I personally think with that really big game against Chelsea, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Lacazette get saved for that Chelsea game. Maybe plays small minutes against Southampton and plays the majority of the game against Chelsea. That is the way I would probably view it. Again, I am no manager myself. And Colm saying hit the like button when you are here. People really do appreciate that, buddy. Yes, if you are enjoying the stream, please do hit that like button. We're on a brilliant run right now of getting 50 likes on each live stream. So if it is providing a little bit of value to you guys and you want to pay us back in some way, just drop a like on the video. Of course, it is free, and it's just a great way to see that you guys are enjoying the stream throughout. So, as I said, guys, I want to touch on the first comparison for players because I know a lot of you right now are on your free hits or you're looking to bring in double game week players. And I think a team that are really high on the agenda right now are Newcastle assets, and in particular, their defence. Now, the defence have been definitely improved under Eddie Howe. There's no doubts about that. They're actually getting some clean sheets along the way. And importantly, there are players that are really good price brackets where for this game week in isolation, you could bring them in and then easily bench them from game week 34 or game week 35 onwards until the end of the season. Or if you're on a free hit right now, I massively urge you to bring in at least one Newcastle defender because I really think that their price point, they just offer you the opportunity to go elsewhere in your squad and invest some funds in different departments like the midfield and the forward line. So, firstly, Dubravka in goal. I do think he is probably the best goalkeeper to go for. Now, it really depends on what direction you want to go. If you like the Leicester double, which I think is definitely worthwhile considering, I wouldn't be touching the Leicester defenders because of the rotation risks that all of them pose. Therefore, I think Schmeichel is the only direction that you can go for right now if you want Leicester coverage. So, by that logic, I think Newcastle double defence is a nice move to go for. So, I would probably recommend, if you are looking to go for a Newcastle double up, but favour Leicester as well, to have Schmeichel as your default goalkeeper and then have 2 Newcastle defenders. I really don't think that you should go Dubravka, Newcastle defender and a Leicester defender because I personally can't sit here and tell you a Leicester defender that is definitely going to play both games. Whereas I can confidently say, barring injury, these 3 on your screen right now will play both games for Newcastle. So we have that clarity with Newcastle and the defenders. We really don't have that with Leicester. Unless, of course, you're in the know, you know better than I do, which I'm sure a lot of you do. Then you might be able to pinpoint a Leicester defender that will definitely play 180 minutes over that double game week. So my preference is if you love Leicester defensively, go for Schmeichel, go for 2 of these boys in the defence. But I'm here to try and help you decide which Newcastle defender to go for. So I've picked Fabian Schär, Burn and Target. I think they're the 3 best options in that Newcastle defence. And I filtered it by game week 24 to now because that is when Burn and Target joined Newcastle and these 3 have effectively played as a core defence from game week 24 to game week 32. I think that's more of an accurate representation on their underlying stats. Now you can see there, Matt Target slightly more expensive than the other 2 at 4.7 million. Burn and Schär at 4.4 million. So again, that could be the swaying point for you. But Schär has played slightly more minutes than Burn and Target. I believe he played 1 more game than them. So it's worth noting that when we do look at the underlying stats here for both. Now, looking at the FPL points, Schär is by far and away the highest scorer over this period with 50, 30 for Dan Burn and 24 for Matt Target. So straight away there, with Matt Target being the more pricier of the defenders, it isn't that much attractive to be seeing him the lowest scoring FPL option. I'd be wanting to see him be considerably a higher FPL point scorer over that period for me to be considering him. Again, my personal opinion. But Fabian Schär with 2 goals to his name over that period. Again, whether that is massively exceeding or not, we can touch on. FPL assists as well, 1 for Schär and 1 for Dan Burn. Again, these are likely going to be coming from corners, headed down assists. We're not be expecting them to be dribbling through the team, creating an amazing cross or not in their teams. And really disappointing to see Matt Target without an attacking return so far at his time at Newcastle. Shots, Fabian Schär again with 14, 7 for Dan Burn, 5 for Target. Again, Target just not showing the worth at 4.7 million. And FPL bonus points, no doubt. So apologies. No surprise that Fabian Schär is leading the way on FPL bonus points because of the 2 goals that he's had. 7 in comparison to Burns' 2. and bloody 0 for Matt Target. So again, Matt Target and the underlying stats, we're going to look at those now because there may be a slight glimmer of hope for him as an FPL option. But right now, looking at the actual output for all three defenders, I can't be considering Matt Target as an option because he's 0.3 million more expensive and not necessarily delivering on the output. Now, you might want to jot this down because I don't have a slide for it, but these are some of the underlying stats for these players. So, looking at the expected goals, Shah and Dan Burn have the exact same expected goals over this period on 0.59. Now, again, Shah has scored 2 goals from an expected goals of 0.59. So, not necessarily a sustainable run of form. Dan Burn, on the other hand, hasn't got a goal, but has got the expected goal of 0.59. So, it's worth noting that. Matt Target, only 0.18. So, hardly any goal involvement for Matt Target over the period that we're looking at. In the expected assist department, Shah 0.78, so looking decent compared to his output of 1 FPL assist. Dan Burn 0.17, you'd expect that from a centre-back, but again, Fabian Shah showing his worth. And Matt Target 0.8, and I would expect that to be a little bit more with him being a flying fullback in this Newcastle team. So it's quite disappointing to see that his expected assists aren't far and beyond someone like Fabian Shah's. So the output isn't in Matt Target's favour. The underlying stats aren't necessarily in Matt Target's favour. So I'm going to rule out Matt Target as an FPL option, but I do appreciate that because he gets in more offensive positions, he probably is going to be an attractive option for managers. And I think the obvious pick is to go for Fabian Shah. Now, a few people are worried about potential injury risks for him. He has a bit of a history for injuries. And I do think that if you are worried about that, and that's something that you do take into consideration, Dan Burn is the easy choice for you. But I personally, if I had to pick one, would be Fabian Shah. And you can see below the names, the projected points for all these players. It's quite funny to see Matt Target's actually projected to score the most points on 14 points over the next 5 league games. Fabian Shah on 13.7 and Dan Burn on 12.5. But looking at the underlying stats, looking at the sort of output that all these players have delivered over this period, I just think Fabian Shah is the route that I would go for if I had to pick one Newcastle defender. And I think I'd probably go for Shah and Target just because I couldn't bring myself to own 2 Newcastle centre-backs in a free hit. I need a little bit of excitement and potential there. So Shah and Target would be the 2 I would go for. Otherwise, Shah would be the 1 if you're in the market for one defender. And again, at 4.4 million, if you're looking into just bring in a defender long term, you can happily just chuck Fabian Shah on your bench from game week 36 onwards and just let him sit there for the rest of the season. So let me know in the chat, guys, what are your thoughts? Are you going for Newcastle defenders? Which one would you go for of the 3 that I've mentioned? And if you want me to drop in another player on the fixed comparison matrix, I can put that in, compare them against these Newcastle defenders. So I'll give you guys a minute or so to drop in any players you want me to compare on, and I'll get that sorted for you. Just going to cover some of the questions that we have in here. Just getting my bloody coffee in, obviously, guys. Jack, I don't really like Wood long-term fixtures. I already have Shah before this week, and we'll be looking to offload him when he hits Liverpool, City, Arsenal fixtures. Plus, I'm bench boosting in 36. I don't want bad fixtures that week. Yes, Jack. So I think if you are bench boosting and you're not a big fan of obviously Fabian Shah's fixture in game week 36, then as I mentioned, you can hold him long term, but obviously if you want to really optimize that bench boost, then moving Fabian Shah to someone who doubles in 36, I think it's a really viable move. In terms of Wood long term, I agree. I think this short term, there's definitely potential for him to do well, but in the long term, in particular, when you're looking to bench boost, I wouldn't say he's the most attractive option. He's definitely either a free hit option or a player that you can consider short term, but you might need a strategy or a transfer plan to move away in the medium term. Com saying, is it worth bringing in Newcastle assets for this week if you're looking to wildcard in game week 34? God, I really do think there is potential there for Newcastle defensive assets. If you're a wildcard in 34, you need to be taking some punts, of course. And I do like the likes of Fabian Shah in that Newcastle defence for you, definitely. Cheekster, like the stream, really do appreciate it, Cheekster. Obviously, always a regular on these live streams, so appreciate your support. Ken, are Maddison and Barnes good free options now that they have come back after Europa duty, whereby their minutes may be reduced? Ken, really good question, and we are going to be coming on to the next section in a minute of Leicester midfielders. And what I've already set up is Maddison versus Dewsbury Hall. So it's worth mentioning that we are going to be touching on those two. But I will obviously bring in Harvey Barnes into the equation because he is somebody who got hauled off in that Europa League game. Does that bring his chances up of featuring in the double game week, or do they really severely hinder them? It's going to be really interesting. What I will say is, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know what the team's going to be or the outlay. I think that's the real tricky part of Leicester midfielders right now, is we just don't know who is going to start for sure. So I'm not going to sit here and say this guy or this guy's definitely going to be delivering on the minutes front. But we can look at the underlying stats, and if they were to feature, we can get an idea on what their output potentially could be. Denver, thank you, Nacho. Hope you're doing well. Modric, hey, Nacho, which Leicester mid to target? Yep, we're going to be coming on to that one, Modric. Great outside of the pass boot, by the way. Denver, Madison looking good. Played well for his goal yesterday. Literally planning out my bench boost on the Fix site and watching Denver. Great work. And again, guys, if you haven't checked out the Fantasy Football Fix website, all the links are in the bio. Really recommend checking out. Cheekster is saying about putting Gabriel into the Fix comparison matrix to compare them. I think that's a really, really good point, because I know a lot of managers right now who are on the free hit are looking at different options available, and Gabriel is definitely cropping up as somebody that we can consider as a free hit option. Now, again, it's worth mentioning with Gabriel, he has a double game week, Southampton away, and Chelsea as well. So Gabriel's fixtures, while they're not phenomenal, I still think he is a viable free hit option. Now, again, as we mentioned, he is 5.4 million. So we are looking at a player who is obviously considered a little bit more expensive. Apologies, just filtering out that one there. So what are we looking at for Gabriel as an option? Well, in the same period, in comparison to the Newcastle assets that we are looking at, FPL points 35, so he's a little bit more than Dan Burn. 1 goal, and we do know that he is a attacking threat from corners. We have seen that over the course of the season. If we actually look at it from the start of the season, he's actually picked up 3 goals already this season and had 23 shots with 13 FPL bonus points. So I do apologise, I have filtered that from game week 1 to game week 32. Difficult to compare him to Shah, Burn and Target over this period, because you have to remember Burn was at Brighton for half the season and Target was at Aston Villa for half the season. So I'm just kind of isolating Gabriel right now as a FPL option. And looking at it there, he has been a really solid option. Now, based on the projected points over the next 5 game weeks, he's projected to score 23.2 points over the next 5. So that's really decent underlying stats. Projected points for a defender, in particular a centre-back. We are going to be coming on to algorithm points later on to look at the best defenders, so definitely stick around for that one. But hope that helps in regards to Gabriel. He's been a brilliant option so far. I do think that he is a really nice free hit option if you do fancy the Arsenal defence. The one thing I would say about Arsenal defence, no Tierney, no Partey, no Tomiyasu. I really do think that does hinder them as a defensive unit. So I think with that in mind, I wouldn't be rushing to Arsenal defenders, it's worth mentioning, but I do think that they are available if you want them in a free hit, absolutely. Okay, guys, I think we're going to be looking at Leicester midfielders now, because I think that's quite a common topic as well that we're going to be touching on. So let's move over to James Maddison versus Dewsbury Hall. Obviously a player that's really emerged over the last few months, I would say, in this Leicester team. Has been consistently getting game time, probably more game time than the likes of Maddison and Barnes consistently over the last month or so. So he's a really interesting prospect. And at only 4.4 million right now, he's considerably less, about 2.2 million cheaper than Maddison. So if you're looking to squeeze funds in your free hit team, I'm going to be looking at whether you can consider Dewsbury Hall as an alternative to Maddison. And I will put Harvey Barnes into the equation as well. Just right now, I want to really highlight the player heat map section that we have available on Fantasy Football Fix. And we can only compare one player against another. So I will filter it against Harvey Barnes afterwards. So I'm looking at all these stats from game week 1 to game week 32. So it's worth noting we're looking at a larger sample size. Maddison has played 500 minutes more than Dewsbury Hall. So it's worth noting that again when we are comparing the heat maps and the underlying stats. Now looking at the player heat map for both players. Again, Dewsbury Hall I would say has been in a bit more of a mixed position for Leicester. In parts, he's played as a 3 almost holding midfielders when they were struggling with their centre-backs. So when they had the likes of Soyuncu, Johnny Evans, Fofana all out, Leicester did deploy a bit of a kind of flat 3 midfield and relied on their attacking fellas to kind of get their attacking display. So Dewsbury Hall was being operated more as a CDM in parts, but we have seen in recent weeks that he is being deployed in more of an offensive manner, box-to-box midfielder. So it's great to see him actually evolve as an FPL asset as the weeks have gone on. Maddison, on the other hand, has been always the player that we do expect him on all set pieces, obviously on free kicks as well, where he's so dangerous. And being the real creative force in this team, you can just see that from the player heat map. All over the pitch he is, getting plenty and plenty of touches. Dewsbury Hall, on the other hand, being much more of that left-sided centre midfielder, getting in around the middle third and making the occasional darts into the box. But again, very little touches in and around the 18-yard box. Now, when we look at the underlying stats, we can see 58 shots for Maddison and only 16 for Dewsbury Hall. So the shot volume is massively in Maddison's favour. Only 16 for Dewsbury Hall is a little bit of a worrying sight to see, because naturally the guy would have to be an absolute beast in regards to conversion rate to be delivering points week in, week out. Whereas, although 58 shots might be all off target, I want to be going for the asset that is having the shot volume naturally over the course of the season. So I think it's only right that when we do look at the underlying stats here, and you can see them in front of us here, I want to come all the way down to average statistics per 90 minutes. This is going to get us a real idea on how they're both operating as FPL options. Now, in the goals department, we've touched on it. Maddison is far and beyond a more dangerous asset. 0.38 goals per 90. Dewsbury Hall only 0.06. Not what you want to see when we are looking at an FPL option, but it is worth mentioning once again, he is only 4.4 million. So, you know, it would be phenomenal if he is better than Maddison in all these departments, but you have to remember he is 2.2 million cheaper, so you are going to be paying for a little bit lesser influential attacking player. Expected goals, 0.26 per 90 for Maddison, only 0.06 for Dewsbury Hall. So again, that in that department, Maddison is really running away with it there. Shots, we knew about the shot volume for Maddison. Shots on target naturally in the box are in Maddison's favour as well. And the goal assists, Maddison is delivering in that area, 0.24 per 90 compared to Dewsbury Hall's 0.13. But the expected assist is a little bit closer, 0.18 for Maddison, 0.13 for Dewsbury Hall. So it's no surprise, guys, that Maddison is by far and beyond the better FPL option if you are looking to bring one in. Now, what I will say about Dewsbury Hall, he's a brilliant option if you are looking for a bench player to bring in now and then. His underlying stats aren't suggesting that he's been getting any. He's not going to be getting any hauls anytime soon. We saw him get a double-digit haul not too long ago. But what I will say to managers who are looking to bring him in with the expectation in him continuing that, what I'm seeing right now in the underlying stats, I don't see that continuing from now into the end of the season. He might get a couple, but that would be really stretching it. Maddison, on the other hand, because of the shot volume, the areas he's picking up the ball, the expected goals, I'm seeing good things from Maddison as an FPL option. I do think he is worth the 2.2 million more than Dewsbury Hall from now into the end of the season. And I think the big problem we have right now, if you're free hitting, is the minutes that both of these players are going to get. And I honestly can't sit here and tell you which one is going to get more minutes than the other. I just think that's in the hands of the gods right now. But what I do think is significant is you're going to have the funds available in your free hit team most likely. And if that is the case, I would pay a little bit more and go for James Maddison. He may play less minutes, he may not, but we can see here with the average statistics per 90 minutes, if we do get that consistent minutes from Maddison, we are likely to see him outscore Dewsbury Hall, and that is probably a quote that's going to come to bite me in the ass. So hopefully I'm not wrong in that department, guys. But Dewsbury Hall, I think he's a great option. Do I think he's definitely a long-term option if you are happy to him to be a bench pick? That's the way I'm viewing it right now. Hope that helps. I'm going to be putting in Barnes in the comparison in a minute. Just want to see the questions here, see if there's anything significant while we're discussing. Vinjay saying, who's a better option? Ben White or TAA against United? Well, you know, based on the doubles, I'm a big fan of double game weeks. I naturally probably would say Ben White, which is probably quite surprising for you guys to hear. I just think double game weeks are so underrated. 2 points for an appearance, 2 points for a secondary appearance. Now, of course, lots can happen. Could get subbed off early, might not hit them 2 point threshold, might get a yellow card. That's the same in any single game week as well. So we need to remember that. I look at it and think Ben White is going to get a baseline of 4 points, I would like to think. If he picks up a clean sheet and a bonus point, that's probably going to outscore Trent Alexander-Arnold. But again, it's all ifs and buts. I just like the opportunity of a double game weeker. I think Ben White I would pick over Trent. I know it's crazy to say. We will look at the algorithm points in a minute to have a comparison. Denver's saying Bowen versus Mount comparison for this week. Denver, that is something I will definitely chuck out a little bit later on down the road. So don't worry, I will put that in later in the stream if you're still about. Of course, you can always rewatch these live streams if they do help out. And Shafiq saying, what's the best free hit draft that combines doublers and singlers players? Brilliant question, and I'm going to be dropping that any minute now after I finish the Leicester comparison, so definitely do stick around for that one. And Sujit saying, fantastic stream, really helping, keep it great up. Thank you, buddy. Hope you're well. And Benny Blanco saying, if you had to pick one, Martinelli, Cornet, or JWP. Ooh, Cornet, Sean Dyche now been obviously sacked, which is really a shame to see. Could that inspire Burnley to be a more of an offensive team? Potentially, for sure. We're going to be looking at the algorithm points in a minute. I think JWP just ticks the boxes if you just want guaranteed minutes. I would probably be tempted by Martinelli of the three, just naturally because Arsenal being a better team. I know recently their performance has been poor, but against that Southampton team who were horrific against Chelsea, I think Arsenal are going to have plenty of opportunities against them. So I'd probably just favour Martinelli of the three. So I'm going to quickly drop in Harvey Barnes just a minute, guys, just to have a little comparison, because I know a lot of you are scratching your heads about what direction to go for in regards to Harvey Barnes or Maddison. I know it's a very close contest between the two, and it's worth mentioning that our algorithm does have Harvey Barnes as the better option longer term, so it is worth noting that when you are considering one of these assets. Now, I just need to find Harvey Barnes on our list. I think my eyesight is absolutely shot, guys, because I'm struggling to read the list here. So let me just try and find Harvey Barnes. Apologies for the delay in getting this out to you. He can't surely be this low down, Harvey Barnes, can he? I've definitely missed him. Right, let's go back. Apologies, guys, for the delay. Please do stick around. Do not leave me. Barnes. You're probably screaming right now, why are you not selecting Barnes? Barnes. Okay, let's filter it by team. Sorry, guys. Absolutely useless I am. Harvey Barnes. Here we go. Right. Harvey Barnes on the right-hand side here. Over the same period as well. Looking at the touch heat map, absolutely no surprise that Harvey Barnes, in the absence of Jamie Vardy in particular, has been the one to stretch teams. So it's no surprise that his touch heat map is way further down in that final third, and in particular in and around the box. And when you look at the heat maps in general, you really want to go for Harvey Barnes. I can't lie. When you see that touch heat map, it excites you. You still think there's potential there. Now, look at the shot volume. Remember, Dewsbury Hall was massively down against Maddison. Barnes, on the other hand, right up there on the shot volume. 53 shots compared to Maddison's 58. And when we come down to the average per 90, this is, again, what I really like judging assets when I do look at bringing one and another in. And as we mentioned, Maddison is the guy right now for Leicester goals. 0.38 goals per 90 compared to Harvey Barnes' 0.16. And the expected goals, though, while Dewsbury Hall was right down there, right down on 0.06, Barnes 0.23 per 90. So really putting up a good argument right now against Maddison. And the shots department, per 90, he is exceeding Maddison. And again, on target, super close, only just on Maddison's favour. But assists in Barnes' favour and expected assists in Maddison's favour. So it is so tight between the two guys. I really couldn't sit here and say one is definitely better than the other. I think this is a classic scenario where FPL variants could absolutely screw. We've had it in the past. We had it where there was a straight shootout between particular players. For example, Matty Cash and Luca Digne. We had this a few weeks back, maybe a month back. Underlying stats were super similar. There was definitely not a standout option between the two. Then we go see Matty Cash score a goal, 2 assists, Digne picking up nothing. And before you know it, Matty Cash is 40 points clear of Digne. So what I'm going to say here, guys, and this is going to be more of a mental preparation for game week 33, do not kick yourself if you are looking between Maddison and Barnes. You pick one and the other delivers. Just accept it. That's the only recommendation I can have for you guys, because when we look at the underlying stats, and particularly the touch heat map, you can see there, Maddison, yes, is the more goal threat in regards to shots per 90 and goals per 90. But again, the assist potential is in Barnes' favour as well. been rested in Europa League. So I probably would just favour Maddison if I had to put my hat on it. But just please don't kick yourself, guys, if you go for the wrong one, because there really isn't enough information right now to say absolutely one is better than the other, unless someone else, and again guys, I love listening to other information and data, you can drop it in the comments, give me some sort of underlying stats that suggest one's better than the other. I personally view it as a super close contest between the two, and it really is just going to be one of those where we just pray that the one you pick delivers. So I think it's probably time that we look at some free hits. I think this is a great opportunity. You guys have been sitting lovely and patiently, and I think it's a great time for us to have a little bit of a comparison between some free hit teams. So first up, we're going to be looking at a free hit team that is just full of double game weekers. Now, quite a contentious thing in the FPL community right now is that double game weekers that don't have the best fixtures shouldn't be in the conversation. Their expected minutes could be a risk. Other people think that single game weekers should absolutely be in the conversation, and some think they shouldn't. So I've built a team right now of just double game week players to consider for your teams. Now, again, who's not made the cut? Well, naturally, all Spurs players aren't in consideration. So that means that Son, Kane aren't in consideration. That means that Liverpool's Trent and Salah aren't in the mix as well. And of course, Man City's Cancelo, De Bruyne, obviously potential injury risk there. Fodens of the world aren't in consideration. So we have completely cut those guys from the potential draft. So this is the squad that I have built with the doublers in mind. Now, I touched on it earlier in the stream. I'm not massive on Leicester defensively. However, if you are, and you're confident in Leicester potentially picking up one clean sheet, I massively urge you going for Schmeichel. Don't be chasing the upside of getting the right Leicester defender, because there really isn't enough information to really be confident on which Leicester defender is going to play 180 minutes. That's why I think Schmeichel is a much better option if you want to go Leicester defensively. And then you go for your Newcastle double up with ones that you definitely know are going to play bar an injury. And that is going to be Target and Shah for me. Now, Telles is going to be the third defender that I have considered. And again, quite a surprising one because Man United have been woeful defensively. But against Norwich, who are still, based on the underlying stats, the worst team in the league, and being at home, I think that's still a good enough option to go for Telles, especially when Shaw is still ruled out for this double game week, I believe, last time I checked the press conferences. Of course, the Liverpool fixture is not favourable, but that double game week, you have to remember that's still points that you're going to get unless an own goal happens, which is very, very unlikely. And if you went by that logic, you just never would pick players because the own goal is potential for any player. Now, the midfield was a little bit trickier looking at double game weekers. So I think Saka and Fernandes are very common players in any free hit, even if you're picking single game weekers. And Maddison, I've seen a lot of the community being the one go for if you are considering a Leicester midfielder. But Harvey Barnes is the other one that I've picked. Now, this one settles the debate of if you're worried about one or the other, just pick both. And it kind of going to tick both boxes for you. And this is where bloody Tielemans steps up and outscores both. But when we remove the likes of Son, Kevin De Bruyne, Mo Salah as options, I start to think that the list isn't that great from other teams. Now, somebody that I definitely think should be in the conversation right now, and I apologise, he should be on the list, is going to be Burnley's Cornet. I think he's definitely one to have a consideration right now, and I think he probably would be higher up on the list than Lennon. It's worth mentioning. So I probably would say Cornet is definitely a worth consideration in the midfield, but when we look outside of the other teams, Man United, outside of Fernandes, you could go for Sancho, but just not seeing enough there right now. Then, of course, we're looking at other teams. Well, Newcastle midfielders, not really feeling it there. Arsenal midfielders, yes, you could double down on the Martinelli and Saka combo. Absolutely no qualms about that. But I think one's enough right now in that Arsenal midfield. So I think the double up in Leicester midfielders, I think it's definitely upside for that move. And I definitely think there could be value there. Now, the front line, Ronaldo, yes. Yes, Ronaldo has made the team. And I think a lot of people still spitting feathers over Ronaldo for being so expensive and not delivering the goods. But he's going to make the cut. I expect him to play against Norwich. And I wouldn't be surprised if he play against Liverpool as well. We have to remember Cavani completely disappeared off the map. Probably bathing somewhere on a beach, it seems. So Ronaldo against that Norwich team, that could be a monster haul. So I think in that reason alone, Ronaldo makes the cut. And we go for Che Adams and Wood. Now, Adams' underlying stats are still great right now for this season. And he's playing against an Arsenal team without Partey and Tierney and Tomiyasu. I think there's potential there. And against a Burnley team who, of course, are really at sea right now after getting rid of Sean Dyche, we're really not sure what kind of Burnley we're going to be seeing there. So I think Adams is a really nice, shrewd differential pick. And Chris Wood, just because of the fixtures, a Leicester team who are featured in Europa League, a Crystal Palace team off the back of an FA Cup semis. I think there's real potential for Wood to do okay, getting off the back of that penalty last week, and importantly on penalties. So that is a free hit team there with just double game week players. Loads of money in the bank. Like I said, I could upgrade Len to Cornet. We could be upgrading White to Gabriel. We could be doing loads in this team. There's loads of potential in this team. But it's quite clear that it's very difficult to fill out your team and use the full budget with just double game week players. So let me know in the chat, guys. Who do you think is a double game week player not right now in this team that you think should be included? I'll be really interested to know about that. And again, I'm going to be touching on in a minute a free hit draft that are single game week and double game week players. Do stick around for that. I'll be dropping that in about 2 minutes. Just going back to the questions, I don't want to isolate you guys. I want to make sure we're covering everything. So, Isaac's saying, is Alonso a good option? Now, Alonso could be a great option, and this has been the problem for him all season. With Chilwell out, whole season, Alonso featuring against Real Madrid was a real surprise, and the way that Chelsea played put a lot of emphasis on them fullbacks, wingbacks, depending on what position they were in the team, to actually be decent defenders. So that could see Alonso getting more game time. I would need to see a little bit more right now to consider Alonso, because I think when you bring him in, it's going to be so hard to get rid of him, because what will happen is he either plays every game or he plays every other game. And when Alonso plays, he hauls. So just be cautious. You might be stuck with a player that gets benched now and then. So definitely be cautious of that. Cheekster, I covered the Madison Barnes comparison, so I hope that helps. Nanje, Pope or Dubravka? I'd have to go for Dubravka right now. I think those home fixtures are great for them. Denver saying, in my opinion, a mix between single and doublers will earn you 75 plus points. Yeah, I think that's definitely a fair argument. And DJ Hammer, do you think it's worth downgrading Saka to Martinelli to upgrade Tielemans to Barnes? Probably wouldn't. I think I would stick with what you got. I think Tielemans' minutes are as good as any of the Leicester midfielders. So I would stick with what you have. I don't think you need to make them sideways moves at all right now as we speak. And Bongo Bongo saying, what a great name. Sancho or Son? Well, look, I think if you're in a position right now, I think of Man United, and we have to remember this, get their double game week 34. If Chelsea beat Crystal Palace, then that Sancho move is going to look really nice for you with the double-double. And if I was to say someone to outscore one another, it would have to be Sancho over those 2 game weeks. 4 games against Son's 2. I would fancy Sancho there. It's just whether you have the guts to sell Son with the form that he's in right now. It's just worth noting. George 100, Rudiger or Laporte? I would have to say probably Rudiger right now. I think Man City are a much better defensive team. But we have to remember, Chelsea potentially with double game week 34 and definitely a double game week 36. I think that's enough upside there to keep Rudiger and go for him longer term. And Bongo Bongo, Kane or St. Maximin? I would still sit with Harry Kane personally, for sure. George, yeah, you've kind of reiterated what I said there. I do think Laporte has definitely got the higher clean sheet potential. But if Rudiger's double game week falls into 34, then you've got to want Rudiger effectively. So just be cautious of that. And Cheeks are throwing in a really good comment there about James Ward-Prowse. Absolutely agree. I do think James Ward-Prowse is an excellent option. And somebody that I would consider maybe getting rid of Harvey Barnes or Maddison to replace for Ward-Prowse. As we know, Ward-Prowse, any place, anytime with those free kicks, could get a monster haul, and there's very few players who are guaranteed to play 180 minutes over this double. Ward-Prowse, barring injuries, is absolutely one of those. So James Ward-Prowse, a really good shout as well. And again, I'll get the algorithm points up in a minute so we can compare them against other players. So I hope that helps, guys, with your free hits. That is a just doublers free hit. Now we're going to be putting into the equation a free hit team with single game weekers and double game weekers. So let's get up on the screen now. And it's quite interesting viewing right now, and might be a bit contentious. You have to let me know in the chat what you think. So played around with a few teams, and I've ended up on this one for now. So the difference is, gone for double Newcastle, but I've gone for the combination of Dubravka and Shah. Cancelo has made it into the team. Again, we don't know about the minutes for Man City players off the back of that Champions League. My assumption, Cancelo plays, but again, you might be more worried about his minutes than I. So I think that home fixture against Brighton is great for Man City. And Ben White's coming into the equation as well. Again, because we're bringing in premium assets, Salah is now in the mix and Son has come in. Of course, 2 single game week players, both premium assets. We have to make sacrifices somewhere in this team. So with those 2 being involved, that means that we have to go down to Ben White, keeping Saka, keeping Fernandes, and instead of the Madisons and the Barneses, I've gone for Dewsbury Hall. Now, again, I've touched on it. I'm not massive on Dewsbury Hall in regards to his future output. And that easily could become Martinelli. So it's worth noting that I think Martinelli will be a really nice double up with Saka as well. But I've just put Dewsbury Hall in there as just a consideration for you guys. And up top, Ronaldo and Adams have made the cut. Harry Kane absolutely could have been this team, but very difficult at Harry Kane's price point to have Ronaldo and Kane and Salah and Fernandes. So I've had to go for the Son alternative. I think he could easily outscore Kane this game week. It's worth noting. But what you're seeing with this team here is tighter restrictions with the budget. Now, this does have 1.3 million in the bank with my team value. Bench is awful, but I'm hoping that all these players would feature. So it's very interesting to see what the likes of Cancelo, Salah and Son, premium single game week players, do to a free hit team. So where am I right now in the consideration for free hits? Absolutely think that double game week players should be the main kind of build of your team. Absolutely. I think there's a lot of people who don't really appreciate the value that a double game week player has because we get burnt so often by things that have happened in the past, like the Veg horses of the world, and just to name a few. I've been burnt by him, but I think when we kind of get rid of that kind of pain that we suffered in the past, that shouldn't influence our decision making going forward. And I think the double game weekers over the course of the season would outscore single game weekers. Now there are some exceptions, absolutely. I think Salah is probably just the one that I would consider as an exception. Home game against Man United, I'm not expecting a lot from Man United defensively, and Liverpool look in imperious form right now. I think Salah will be the one that would make the cut for me in a free hit team if I have the funds available. I think you could roll without Cancelo. I think that you could go for another option like an Arsenal defender, and I would expect them with their double to kind of score similar to Man City defenders. So I think Salah's the one that definitely makes the cut. I think you could make an argument for Spurs assets as well, but I think Brighton maybe turning a corner a little bit could be a trickier game for Spurs. So let me know your thoughts, guys. Which draft did you prefer? Draft 1, draft 2? It'd be really interesting to know what your thoughts are and what direction you're taking your free hit. Are you going for all doublers? It'd be really intriguing to see. I'm going to cover off some more questions, guys. We'll look at the algorithm points and then let's take a look. T-Tax saying Foden, free transfer to Sancho. So would I make that move? Well, if Sancho's fit, I'd probably expect Sancho to feature. And again, because we don't know the actual landscape of the fixtures right now, we have to make the assumption that potentially, that Chelsea beat Crystal Palace based on the bookies' odds. And if that does happen, then yes, Sancho with a double in 33 and a double in 34, I'd absolutely expect him to outscore Phil Foden with just the 2 games over 2 game weeks. So I like the move. The one thing I would say to you is if that double doesn't happen in 34, I think Foden could really be an option that I'll just be considering longer term and just sticking your team really. So it's all about how you anticipate that Chelsea fixture to go later down. Vincata saying, I think Kane is a better option versus Brighton than Son. Yeah, I think that's a really valid point. I think both have been operating really well right now, and it's always the case where they both just juggle between the two. It's just all about kind of funding it right now because Kane is a little bit more expensive. And apologies, I can't pronounce that first name. Awful pronunciations. O'Connell saying, I have a free hit, wildcard, and bench boost. When would you suggest free hit plus game... apologies, when would you suggest the free hit? 33 wildcard 36, bench boost 37. Yes, so that is a really good point. A lot of people right now are probably tuning in with their situation right now, having plenty of chips. Absolutely envy you guys right now only have the free hit. So again, looking at the fixture analyzer right now, guys, again, very difficult to know the landscape because we have a few games still to potentially rearrange. But looking at it here, you can see in game week 36 and 37, that is where the chunk of the doublers are going to happen. So if I was in your position right now, I probably would go for a free hit in 33. Then I would look to wildcard in game week 34 or game week 35. Now, if the Chelsea game does win, apologies, what grammar is that? Let me start again. If Chelsea were to win against Crystal Palace, they would have a double in game week 34 alongside Man United. And that, I would think, would be enough of a reason for you to wildcard in game week 34. That means that you can then go for a triple up in Chelsea assets or at least a double up. And it means that you could also go for a double up in Man United assets for sure. Then that means that you're going to have Chelsea double 34, single 35, double 36. I think that's the route I would take. Then it's all about how the landscape falls. If that is a scenario, then I think probably a bench boost to 36 is a likely move, or you could go for 37. It's going to be all about team dependency and all about how those fixtures fall off the back of FA Cup games. So that is the route I definitely would take in regards to, in terms of if you have all the chips available. I hope that helps there. Okay, a few more questions here. Benny Blanco, 593 is an insane overall rank. What are your objectives for the rest of the season? Surely top 50. Yes, Benny, I really do appreciate that. Yeah, 593, definitely territory that I have not been in before. Got to say, been on a massive luck streak. I've had all the right calls fall for me, and I can't say here that it's all absolute FPL knowledge. I would love to sit here and say it is, but just fallen on really, really good game weeks, like Son, for example, the captaincy last week. Just little bits like that really propelled me. Worth noting, guys, as well, I have played pretty much all my chips apart from my free hits. So, you know, it sounds crazy, and I've said this to a lot of people because I'm not 593, and a lot of people are saying, come on, go for number one. Honestly, looking at the chip usage right now in the top 5, 10k, if you said to me right now that you're going to finish in the top 3k, I'd probably take that, absolutely take that. I think there's going to be a little bit of pain coming up for me, definitely. So I would take top 3k, absolutely. You're saying about surely top 50. I think if I was sat here right now, the wildcard bench boost free hit, then I absolutely would be thinking that the top 100 would be on the cards. I would need that luck to continue for me to get close to that top 100 right now. So top 3k, I know it sounds a little bit negative, but I would take that hands down. But again, guys, if you want to watch my rise and potential fall, then check out the future live streams, because I will obviously be doing this week in, week out, and I can have a quick roundup of my rank. So we've got a few. Benny saying draft 1, Sujet saying draft 1. I think draft 1 is again kind of showing why the double game weekers offer so much power, because you're not really relying on that one game. You're getting that FPL ceiling of 180 minutes potentially. And Jared saying, so I still got one free hit, triple captain, and bench boost chips left. I like to use my bench boost 36, free hit 37, but don't know when to use my triple captain. Any suggestions? Well, it's really intriguing that you've got a triple captain left over, because I know that's something that a lot of managers have used already. So on the assumption that you are going for the strategy that you're going for, again, I don't know your team in and out, so I'm going to just say that whatever you said is the way you're going, because again, I don't know your squad. So with the assumption that you're bench boosting in 36 and free hitting in 37, I think naturally I would love to target a double for you to have your triple captain, but I can't see one right now that I necessarily think is a phenomenal time to do it. Now, the ones that I would consider right now, and it's going to be all about how the fixtures land. So if Chelsea win and they have a double in 34, that's going to be an opportunity potentially to go for a Chelsea defender. Now, you might not like that too much, and I don't really urge managers to go for this direction, but if we see Reece James in a position where he's fully fit, available for that double game week, could you potentially triple captain Reece James with a fixture against West Ham and United? I think there's an argument for that, but whether you really trust that pick, I couldn't really put a triple captain in this game week. I don't back the minutes of Leicester midfielders. I couldn't pick an Arsenal asset for you to triple captain. Burnley, Weghorst, probably not. Newcastle, Man United this game week. Could you go for Fernandes for a triple captain? That could be a consideration for you, or Ronaldo. Otherwise, because you are using chips in 36 and 37, You either go for a glorious triple captain in 38 and you go for the likes of a Chelsea asset, or you go for glory and you go for somebody like Mo Salah at home to Wolves, titles deciding game potentially. It's going to be all about the players that you have in your squad, but maybe a Reece James in 34 could be a really shrewd pick potentially. And Notorious No saying Telles instead of Cancelo. I think Telles, it would be my pick ahead of Cancelo just because of the double game weeks. Jared, yeah, I missed the deadline for the second. Salah, double, low. Oh, killer, Jared. So, guys, again, I'm going to be putting up the projected points now so we can look at that. Going to be looking at the algorithm squad, and then we're probably going to wrap up the live stream. So we're probably another 10 minutes or so. If you could drop a like if you haven't already, get us to 50 likes. I really would appreciate it. We always try to get 50 likes on these live streams. You guys have always delivered week in, week out. If you could do that for us, in particular on our bank holiday Friday, that would be the best of the lot. So if you are tuning in and haven't hit that like button, of course it's free. Would really appreciate you guys doing that for us. So let's get the projected points up for you guys. This is going to give you a really good idea on what players are projected to score the most points. So this is just for game week 33 in isolation. So top of the tree, Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, the only question mark I would say about this is naturally, what minutes are Ronaldo going to play? Are we going to see him play 180 minutes? I don't know necessarily if that would be the case. Fernandes, on the other hand, I would be shocked if he doesn't play 180 minutes. So although Ronaldo is top of the charts for our projected points, I probably would just favour Fernandes because I think he's going to be more likely to play 180 than Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, again, the one thing that is in Ronaldo's favour massively is those penalties. So just weighing up those options, you either have the Ronaldo option where the expected minutes are probably less, but you have those penalties, or you go for the minutes option of Fernandes, and of course, still a brilliant attacking option. Now, controversially, Harvey Barnes is projected to score more points than Maddison this game week. 9.1 for Barnes, 8.3 for Maddison. Now, again, if you haven't already and you've just joined the live stream, please do check it back. We've done a comparison between Maddison, Dewsbury Hall and Barnes. And my conclusion was that Maddison between now and the end of the season would be the route I would go for. But I know for a fact that our algorithm points has Harvey Barnes as the route to go for. And who am I to go against the Fantasy Football Fix algorithm points? This is the holy grail in my eyes. But, you know, I still favour Maddison, weirdly enough. I don't know what you guys think. I just fancy Maddison longer term. Adams, 8.1 projected points, I think is a really nice option if you are looking for a forward in your free hit. And then we got the Sanchos, the Tielemans, the Lacazettes, the Sakas of the world. So they could always be chucked in there as well to really make up and bolster that free hit team. So again, guys, I'm just going to filter it by goalkeepers for you guys to just check out. I'll give you a few few seconds to check out our projected points for game week 33. You can see this might help build your free hit team for you. That's the goalkeepers there for game week 33. I'll let you check that out. Let's have a look at the defenders. Again, the reason I've got Telles in the conversation is because he is top of our projected points with 7 projected points. Now, Roberts of Burnley is second highest on 6.1. However, the big thing about Roberts is he did get dropped last game week against Luton. For Luton. Sean Dyche is at the door now. What does that mean for Roberts? I really don't know. I personally wouldn't go for Roberts because there's so much uncertainty right now with Burnley and their lineup. Wouldn't touch him. And then Maguire, Slabhead Maguire, 6.1 projected points. Looking good there. Again, Tarkowski, we know he will play for Burnley, but do you want to dip dive into Burnley right now with what's going on there? I just don't think it's an attractive route to go for. So I think it's unsurprising, but some managers do think it is surprising that Man United defensive options are right up there. But we need to remember, they are playing a Norwich team whose underlying stats are still one of the worst in the leagues. And I do think that a clean sheet is looking really likely for them against Norwich. And straight away there, that's 6 points. And whatever they're getting against Liverpool is a bonus. So that's the way I view it, really. And that's why I think Telles is a really nice differential option for those free hit teams. And would I buy him in a free transfer? Probably not, but I like him in a free hit. Now, just quickly get up the midfielders for you guys. As I mentioned, Barnes ahead of Maddison, Fernandes ahead of Sancho, and then we got the Tielemans, the Sakas. But you will see there, Mo Salah, of course, only a single game week, 6.8 projected points. And importantly, was rested in the Champions League game. I think he played about half an hour in the end. So you would expect him to absolutely play against Man United in the Premier League. And Man United, right now, I think there's a great chance that Liverpool could do well against Man United. So I think Salah is a brilliant single game week option still to this day. Then we got Son at 6.3, obviously the other single game weeker for midfielders. And last up, we're just going to wrap up the forwards for you guys. Again, I really hope this does help you with your teams that you're building and the directions you're going to go in. Ronaldo, as I mentioned, still top of the charts. Then we got Adams. Lacazette is a big question mark because of his fitness. Hasn't trained with the group, has some private training sessions. Is he going to be fit? If I had to really put money on it, I probably would say he benches against Southampton, plays against Chelsea, but that's no inside knowledge there whatsoever, so it's worth noting. Then Broha, St. Maximin, Wood. St. Maximin and Wood's probably an interesting one. You can see they're very close. St. Maximin just on top, but injury to St. Maximin, we know he's made of glass, the guy. I think Wood's probably the safer option for you. So, interestingly, guys, let me know in the chat what are your thoughts on our projected points going forward. You've got us to 44 likes, which I really do appreciate. If you are leaving the live stream and you want to drop a like on your way out, I would massively, massively appreciate you guys getting us to 50 likes. Obviously, you guys are awesome. Right then, George 100. Laporte or Rudiger? I'm favouring Laporte. I think you asked that one earlier, George. While we got the algorithm points, great opportunity for us to check them out. So, let's move this paper out of the way a minute. Bloody hell. Laporte is projected to score 5.2 points. Rudiger, on the other hand, is projected to score 3.9. So I would back that. I think against Brighton, naturally would favour the team that have Brighton. So Laporte would be the pick for me, absolutely. Now, we're going to be looking at the landscape a little bit differently here. Look at it from now until the end of the season. And looking at it, Rudiger is projected to score 33.9. Laporte, 29.9. So I think, as I mentioned, although Laporte is projected to score more points this game week, we have to remember that if Chelsea win, they will get a double in 34. So, although Laporte looks good for this game week, if Chelsea get a double in 34, I think I'd probably rather go for Rudiger with the potential of them getting that double, because then you already own him and then you can just hold him long term, knowing that he probably is, over the course of the season from now until the end, the better pick. So that's the route I would go for. Probably buy Rudiger, know that you're going to be in for a little bit of short-term pain because Laporte's likely to outscore him this week, but then you might get that ground built in the next game week. That's my thoughts there for you. I'm just going to leave this here on all players between now and the end of the season, just on screen, so you guys can see, if you are looking for players over a longer-term perspective, who is looking like the best option to target. And again, I don't have to repeat it, guys. Mo Salah, absolutely top of the tree, as we would expect as an FPL option. Jarvis, how about using triple captain in 36-37? Yeah, I think if you are using your triple captain 36 or 37, as you can see with our algorithm points and projected points here, game week 36, Mo Salah, 13.1 projected points. That would be your best time to use it based on our projected points between now and the end of the season. So 36, Mo Salah, triple captain would be the triple captaincy I would advise you to take if you are looking to play one. Again, between now and 36, lots can happen. So it is worth mentioning that a lot can happen between now and then. While the projected points look great now, let's come back to it in a few weeks if things change, of course. Sakev saying Cornet or Saka. Great shout again. Great shout again. Cornet or Saka. So I guess you mean just in this game week in isolation. So if we're looking at it in isolation, Saka is projected to score 7.5 points. Have to remember he does have that double. Cornet, again with another double, 4.6 projected points. So again, if you can afford it, I think Saka's the route to go for. And interestingly, does Sean Dyche's absence, obviously being sacked, mean that Burnley are going to be more of an offensive team? I don't know. I don't think there's enough logic to suggest that Burnley are going to be instantaneously a better team under Ben Mee as manager. So I'm probably going to say there, Saka, safer pick. I think his minutes are pretty locked in, and we just don't really know necessarily whether we're going to be seeing Cornet as an improved option or not. Right, guys, we're going to be wrapping up in a minute. Let's cover a few more questions, And if you guys can get me to 50 likes, us to 50 likes, who am I saying? Me. Us to 50 likes would massively appreciate it. Right. Last few. Keep Kane over Ronaldo. Now, again, super tough conversation here, Denver. Between now and the end of the season, I prefer Kane. Absolutely. But if Ronaldo gets a double in 34 because Chelsea beat Crystal Palace, you're getting a double 33 and a double 34 Ronaldo. Naturally, I think Ronaldo then becomes the better option, but it's so tough for us to call right now because the Chelsea game hasn't mattered. And guys, massively appreciate you getting us to 54 likes. Absolutely smashed it. Really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Names there. Body by Duff. Would you play De Gea over Ramsey? So I would probably go for De Gea personally, and our projected points does have that as well. And it's just because they're playing Norwich. I don't want to be, crapping on any Norwich fans there. I do apologise, but I just think that fixture is such a great fixture, Man United. And if you are to play a team to get a clean sheet, it probably is Norwich. So that's why I would go for David De Gea. And you never know, David De Gea, while he might concede against Liverpool, might get an absolute ton of save points and might get you a massive haul there. Rio, will Maddison be a good captain choice this game week? Rio, I think projected points wise, he looks great. Minutes wise will be the question mark for me. So just be cautious of his minutes. That's all I'm going to say to you there. If you are happy to ride that potential, then there's an option. Benny Blanco, if Tellez has 2 potential doubles, surely he's a good asset. Okay to swap him for 8 Nori. Yes, Benny, I think that's a really good shout. I think 8 Nori is a bit of a risk in itself with minutes, with Marcel obviously operating left wing back. So I think that is a risk/reward move that I would take. So yes, I think Tellez would be the option I would go for. You have to remember that Tellez, if you have a wild card, I think that's a great move. The one thing I would say about Tellez is when Shaw does return, Tellez is likely to be on your bench then. That's going to be another free transfer to get rid of him. So not sure about his situation, so just be worth mentioning that. And Bree saying, can we see price rises, fallers before you go? Bree, great shout. Something I don't do enough of. I think naturally, because the end of the season, we're not really seeing a lot of price changes. Of course, guys, Fantasy Football Fix, we have our price change predictor, which is pretty damn accurate, I would say. One thing I would say is wildcards don't impact price changes. I think free hits as well is worth noting. So it can skew it sometimes. So we're going to leave it up on screen for you. That is the potential price changes as we speak. Now, Laporte's the only one that's exceeded the 100% threshold for Ryzen tonight. Wood and Cancelo haven't actually hit that 100% threshold. So in the progress per hour that they're doing right now, we're expecting them to rise, but they haven't actually hit that threshold yet. So it's just worth noting things could change over the next couple of hours. Notable fallers, Doherty. I think Doherty's the only one that's fallen that could impact people because they're looking to sell him at some point. And if you want to really just get rid of him, maybe tonight's the night to do that. Bree, great shout on that one. Always forget to drop the price change predictor, but it's always a real helpful tool. Right, guys. We're going to be wrapping up with our algorithm squad to conclude today's stream. Again, for those that tune in from the UK, obviously it's a bank holiday. Massively appreciate you guys taking an hour or however long you've been on this stream to check out this live stream. Massively appreciate you guys sticking around to see it out. So here is the algorithm squad as I promised. Now, it's worth mentioning, when I created my free hit teams, that was based on a mixture of the algorithm points and my personal opinion. So they are slightly different here, obviously, because these are our algorithm team. So here we have it. A few surprises, I'm not going to lie. Of course, I don't build the algorithm squad, but I'm not here to bat against it either. I always back the algorithm squad to do well. So Schmeichel in goal, as I mentioned, I think is a good pick. Now, interestingly, no Newcastle defenders, which I am quite shocked at, to be honest. But when you have the likes of Tellez, who is projected to score the most points of any defender, Gabriel, who obviously, again, based on our projected points, is meant to be doing very well. Bednarek, interestingly in the conversation, that's quite an interesting one. I think the Burnley game is an interesting one before the sacking of Sean Dyche. I think now he's been sacked. Could we see a more adventurous Burnley, which means that we might see less chance of a clean sheet for Southampton? That's going to be an interesting one. I personally couldn't go to Southampton defensively just because what I saw against Chelsea. That's my personal opinion. Midfield, Fernandes, absolute no-brainer. Saka, love. Barnes and Tielemans, quite interesting. No love for Maddison, but what we will say is Maddison's minutes. They could be at risk, so anybody's a risk in that Leicester midfield. And Ward-Prowse, Mr. Consistent. You stick a ball 40 yards out, that guy has a chance of scoring, and we know he's going to get guaranteed minutes. So I like Ward-Prowse for anybody that's looking to do a free hit. And up top, Ronaldo, Adams. No qualms with that whatsoever. I think Ronaldo is the best forward to pick this game week. I think Che Adams is the best differential forward to pick. He looks great as an underlying stats and output option. So that is the algorithm squad, guys. Really hope that has helped you guys out. Massively appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope I've answered enough of the questions for you guys. And fingers crossed, this is a really good game week for us in game week 33. So I'm going to wish you guys the best. Have a great game week 33. If you are free hitting, be amazing to see how you guys got on. So in the next live stream that I'm doing next week, let me know how you got on. I see a lot of people who tune in, week out. Obviously getting a bit of a community here, which is great to see. So be really good to see how your overall ranks are improving over the coming game week. So really look forward to seeing you guys in the next live stream. And thanks for tuning in again, guys. Hopefully in the next live stream, maybe I've broke the top 500, maybe, but I really don't know yet. And hopefully we can keep the run going, a bit of the luck run, bit of skill run, whatever you want to call it. So have a brilliant rest of your weekend, guys. I hope it's great. Hope the weather continues to be great, and we will talk very soon. If you haven't already, drop a like on the way out and maybe hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Cheekster, massive love. Benny, hope you're doing well. Thank you for tuning in, buddy. And we will talk next week, guys. Have a great weekend. Take care. Cheers.